Travis Wayne Goodsell, while I'm waiting for the book. So it's late. It's almost 11:30. As for some reason my camera blurs at the beginning. I don't see it blurred. Seems just fine here. Stretch it out. Yeah, it does have some kind of a blurring effect here, doesn't it? Yeah, that does better. Feel like crying. She's a bad, bad thing. I will do an intro to the book before I get the book and go over the commentary of it. It's by Joseph Fielding Smith, Jr., when he was an apostle. We can do the specific copyright date. Seriously, no extra. Those Goodreads have it. Everybody's trying to sell you something this time of year. Alright, let's see. Way to perfection. It's not telling me anything about the book. What kind of good read is this? I know I'm on these. Probably a whole bunch of low stars. Okay, so Gable Roth? Yeah, Roth, not Ruth. This was an interesting book to read for sure. Gable, I'm not sure whether it's the person on the left or the right. 2 stars. Uh-oh. It was written almost 100 years ago, and a lot of opinions and attitudes have changed within the church. Is that what you call it? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So this isn't giving me the answers I'm looking for. Because it's not on Amazon. Last purchased. Yeah. See, January 1st, 1984? No. Details. Well, YouTube gives it high ratings. Only 22 people though, but nonetheless. Rebecca K. Beautifully bound book. Oh, it looks good, therefore it must be good inside. Oh my god. Well, here's HBO. Verified purchase. Read for protection. Oh man. And here's Darwin from Korihor in the Book of Mormon. Best book in great shape. Huh? James Kennedy, gospel doctrine made easy. See? Are you sure attitudes and opinions have changed? Good stuff. Came on a much more beautiful cover than I thought, and it came very fast. Wonderful insights and facts. Yeah, this is the truth about that book. Oh, dear God. Alright, so let's see if we can get rid of that. There we go. It's still saying 1984. That's a later edition. Publication date, January 1st, 1949. That seems more reasonable. There we go. So yeah, almost 100 years ago, alright. My goodness. Just after World War II. And so if you hadn't seen the other videos that led up to my purchasing this book and getting it for today, yeah, prophet of the church is a racist, and in other publications I'm well aware that he's a sexist, a bigot, hater of the poor, etc., etc., like all Mormon prophets since Brigham Young. And this causes Mormons to likewise emulate the prophet, to be racist, sexist, bigoted, haters of the poor. Because they're the religious leader. They speak for Jesus. Jesus comes down and talks to them, and they do what Jesus tells them to do. So, taking away the priesthood from blacks, well, that was Jesus. Giving it back to the blacks, Jesus. Nelson taking it away, Jesus. It's coming. He's setting it up. That's what Mormons don't get. To confuse people and brainwash them, there are different types of brainwashing through communication. And you've probably heard of backmasking. That's the digital form of underlining messages in songs. In World War II, as that was after World War II, they had singers, popular singers, go overseas, sing to our military, and during the songs there would be words planted that was code for our allies. And then we'd have code breakers that were in the audience who would get the message and pass it along through the famous singers. There's on records, it was the playing of it backwards. So when you got certain records, like Madonna's Like a Virgin, you play it backwards and you are told to go to church, say your prayers. But it was done that way. On others, what the church prophets do is a little more deceptive, but straightforward. You can actually see it in their texts when they're printed out, whereas you may or may not catch it listening to them. So, for example, are Mormons allowed to watch R-rated movies? The answer is yes. And you're going, no, Benson, because I'm smart. I know it's Benson. Right? You knew it was Benson? No, go back and read it, or even listen to it again. Does he stop? Don't watch R-rated movies. Or is there that, I have to use associative memory, I want to say the one thing, and it's an adverbial, no, pronoun. I still blew it. That. Don't watch R-rated movies that are. So if there are R-rated movies that aren't, you can then watch them. The only way to know is to watch it. So the whole argument is thrown out of the water. It's ridiculous. It's idol worship. But there is another form that the prophets use in which they will use the trigger words for brainwashing: Jesus, living prophet, love, family, temple, eternity, eternal life. These are trigger words, and the church has a ton of them that they're using on Mormons. If you're familiar with hypnosis, they'll use different types. Buck Rogers used the typical type of trigger words: when I count to 3, you will wake up. This was in season 2, where it started going downhill to end the whole show altogether. Wilma, for some reason, is now wimpy. She was this big, bad, tough girl in season 1, and now all of a sudden she's wimpy and jealous of Buck with other women, when she was setting Buck up with other women in the first season, after the pilot episode in which she was at the end saying, I'm going to change, Buck. I want to be there for you. I want to be, I want to be your girlfriend. And then the next show, she's just buddies setting Buck up with other women. What? Glenn, what did you do? But as they throw out the trigger words, the words in between are the danger words. So, for example, in the conference where Nelson called everybody lazy learners, everybody heard lazy learners. That was the provoking trigger word. On my channel, you hear a lot of those. Evil, satanic, criminal. But I'm not trying to deceive you and brainwash you, because the church literally is, as Joseph Fielding Smith confesses. And that's how I know you guys are brainwashed, is because you are triggered by my trigger words. I'm hoping to get you out of it. that by giving you those trigger responses, you then will take a closer look at the church, because it never failed. When a woman allows me to start off the mating ritual in Mormonism, she gives up, runs away, and marries somebody else instantly. There's a Penguin show. That's the Associated Memory. Not Jessica. Is it Jessica Alba? The Penguin Panties. She works at a penguin thing. And then the guy is the Good Luck Chuck. Yeah, that's it. Women, good luck. I don't get that, though. I don't want that. I want one. Just one to stay. Apparently that's too hard to ask for. And takes me out of a tangent, onto a tangent. But the church, when they throw out these trigger words, it gets Mormons hearing those and not the rest of the text. And so you don't hear, when you're reading his book, that we will be verifying. Let's see. It See, so it starts off, Elder Joseph Fielding Smith said, and so seeing elder is kind of a distraction for Mormons, because they're going, wait a minute, wasn't he the president of the church? And so that sort of sets up for failure here. Said at the council at Adam-on-Diamond. There's your trigger. Mormons have all these ideas and fantasies about how Adam-on-Diamond's going to be, and so, wow, yeah, prophesied, there's a trigger word. Daniel, there's a trigger word. Of the greatest importance. See, that's an emotional adjective. That the greatest importance. You know, that's an opinion. That's an opinion adjective. It's, that's a brainwashing technique that you use to incite the crowd to an emotional response. At that time, there will be a transfer of authority. And oh, wow, yeah, from the usurper and impostor Lucifer to the rightful king Jesus Christ. See, there's another trigger word in the information that all Mormons missed. Transfer of authority from Lucifer? Lucifer has the keys of authority right now? Who did he usurp them from? Didn't Joseph Smith restore the church? And didn't Brigham Young become the true successor of Joseph Smith? Mormons don't think like that because they're fooled by the trigger words. And so nobody sees this but me. Your Jedi mind tricks will not work on me. Only the pig guards. Or droids or clones. I don't think it works on droids, does it? I don't think I've seen one about droids. Because you have to actually program it to have them miss it. And so everybody misses it. Because he goes on to tell us. The Grand Council of priesthood. We all know priesthood is authority from God, given to Joseph Smith, who restored it. And Brigham Young is the true successor. Even though he dropped translator, he didn't follow section 107 verse 22 to exalt himself to that position, etc., 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 etc. Again, it's a brainwashing technique to deceive Mormons in this particular case. And I've had to get into discussions with Mormons back when they would discuss it. Every Mormon runs away now. They cannot win because the Book of Mormon wins every single time. But, yeah. Those who have directing authority, prophets and apostles, and they don't make the connection because he fills in a lot of extra wording from transfer of authority from Lucifer to prophets and apostles who have had directing authority, and they all miss it. And yes, he could have made an error. But he's actually correct according to the scriptures, because that's what's supposed to happen. The church is supposed to fall into apostasy. And from out of the apostate great and abominable church comes the Mormon who will save the day, do supernatural powers. No, mortal man. You're just supposed to listen to him. And hopefully he's more entertaining than I am. Because could you imagine if it was me? Man, Mormons would nah, screw it. Screw the millennium. I don't care. No, I don't want Zion. No, if it's him, no, forget it. Oh, he's the one that somebody has to marry? Nope, not even if he's the last man on earth. Nope, I pass. I fail my second estate. I'll go to that lesser kingdom. Yep. So, a little background history on Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. He's the father of Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. Shocker, I know. Who was the son of Hiram Smith. And if you're unfamiliar, this is going to be an angry trigger for you. He was kidnapped by Heber C. Kimball. Heber C. Kimball extorted his mother, and apparently Hiram had a wife and kids already, as he also got married in 1826, which is very curious. It's almost like they purposely needed to do that as a cover during that time period. But he had a number of children with that first wife, and then she died in the 1830s sometime, I think. And then he married the Fielding woman and had Hiram through him, or Joseph Fielding Smith. That's why he was called Joseph Fielding. So he was just a young boy when his father was assassinated, and women did not have rights back then. They were property. And even though Joseph gave women freedom, gave women priesthood and priesthood office, Oakes said that women will never have it. It's not in God's design for women to have it. Can you say sexist, boys and girls? Very good. Yeah. Joseph was the first to try to actually liberate blacks, women, help the poor. There really wasn't any people in the closet back in those days. Although SNL did a skit that there were. Hallmark movies about two women. Hilarious. Yeah, he was murdered, assassinated. His organization was usurped. And from that usurpation, Joseph Smith himself said that a Mormon would come through it. I am through Hiram Smith, through the Hoops family. There was a Hoops who married into the family, and I'm from the Hoops. Hoops eye vision people. It's both on my dad's side and on my mom's side. Way back in the day. So it's not like brother and sister getting married. Even though in the Mormon church, brother and sister do get married. It's in the sealing text. Brother so-and-so, do you take sister so-and-so? By the right hand in the patriarchal grip. And so, yeah, Heber extorted her to take care of her. She did not have relations with Heber. I can only imagine that it was because she wanted nothing to do with him, but knew she had no other choice. And it was kind of a sad situation. George Albert Smith comes through the cousin or the brother. I can't remember the family relation. I saw it the other day, but so he wasn't involved with the composition of the Book of Mormon. And that's also how you know Parley P. Pratt. Parley P. Pratt is identified as one of the authors in the Book of Mormon. But he went with Brigham. Whereas Sidney, nope. Wanted nothing to do with Brigham. And formed his own Church of Christ. And so Oliver even. No polygamy. And did not go with Brigham. No, he did not go with Brigham. Yeah, I know, you have some people saying he repented and came back. No, he did not. I did that video. But that's part of the white supremacist abusive nature of Mormons, to assume that people needed to repent and come back. You see that today as Mormons and Mormon families go after other members of their family when they leave. Exmo Lex, she did a video yesterday talking about how her Thanksgiving sucked. And apparently there's a legal document now of a no contact order. Whether she's the one who filed it or they filed it, I have yet to watch the video to find out. But yeah, she's still damaged from when they called her Jezebel. I did those videos when that happened. But that's how mean Mormons are, because of what the prophets teach them to be. And it's, again, brainwashing. They throw in love, Jesus, eternal families, but then in between, they throw in those things to attack your family members and call them Jezebel or apostates or Korah whores. And they don't realize that they're not loving. That's not how you love people. That's not how you win them back. It pushes them further away. Nobody's going to come back to a church where people are mean to them. I mean, what in the world are Mormons thinking? And so when you go out on missions, teenagers, you get all depressed because nobody wants to listen to your message because they've been researching you on the internet. Despite the church's purposeful change of name for the domains and for the algorithms to sort of hide the truth from the world when they do Google searches or other such stuff on YouTube and wherever else, as guys like me get pushed down in priority instead. You do know that's why Jesus is angry. It had nothing to do with nicknames. It had to do with manipulating the algorithms that the church has a major investment in through the stock market. But again, they think they can deceive us, the church and all these platforms, by keeping it a sacred secret, because nobody can see the algorithm. We have to find out from whistleblowers from Facebook who tell us that's exactly what they do. And not just for the church, but for other select white supremacists. And so, yeah, we are at war. They are seeking to destroy. Search and seek and destroy. Metallica. And so, it is really late today. It must be a new guy, because the regular guy is in the union, and so the union most likely got him the whole weekend, extra long weekend off. So it's some other person who's not yet at a high enough rank in the union, or is not yet in the union. One of the Christmas new hires. Well, so maybe this will have to be a video in and of itself then. But yeah, you can see how the usurper's influence on the Smiths from Hiram have been the damage they caused. And dear God. I mean, I had read about Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., who was involved after the change of garments from the previous president, which was Lorenzo Snow, I believe. I don't think it was Wilford Woodruff who changed them. But, you know, despite that, Senior acknowledged the authority of the previous prophet, but refused to comply with the new wardrobe changes. He still kept the originals from Brigham Young. That's how brainwashed he was. He was stuck in idolatry. President of the church and he's an idol worshiper. That's how far gone the damage had been of Hiram's kid. And that's just heart-wrenching. And then the doctrines they espouse. I mean, technically, Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. was not a legitimate president. There was no such organization. The United States shut it down under Wilford Woodruff with the Edmunds-Tucker Act. It ceased to exist. In the Supreme Court ruling, it was called the late or former, I think it was late, the late Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It had ceased to exist. The presidents no longer were recognized. And yet the church just again defied everything. They refused to stop their criminal activities. They kept on going. And others branched off because they were unhappy that they caved, even though they were still secretly practicing polygamy, still doing the tithing protection racket, still being racist, bigoted. Well, not as much bigoted, that hadn't happened yet. Closets were not invented yet back then. But racist, sexist, and hateful and poor. And so you see how it gets passed from generation to generation because of a usurper, a source bad guy, who in this case was Heber C. Kimball, as the guardian father, as a junior, likewise. The Book of Hate. That's all it is. It's a hate book. You know, it's on par with some of the more popular hate books that the world has ever produced. And technically, it is one of those books that people would demand to be burned. And as I understand things, it's a necessary part of history that we cannot ignore and sweep it under the rug and hope it goes away. Because this is Mormon culture. This explains it. This exposes it. And as such, it needs to be exposed to the open, so that all may see that the Mormon Church are the great and abominable church that the Book of Mormon has been telling us about the whole time. And I still find it hilarious that in order to get people to join the church, he had to take the Book of Mormon with him. And it's the Book of Mormon that exposes him for what he was doing, and exposes the current church for their corruption, their crimes, their fraud, their lies, their deceptions. Because they literally are the great and abominable church. They're anti-government. They're still resisting being good, responsible citizens. You have Oaks demanding new laws to protect the church from criminal prosecution. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about other people's rights and liberties and freedoms. They want protection for themselves. And Mormons get suckered into it thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a part of their organization and I will be protected too because it's God, Jesus, who's protecting us. It's His church. And they're the ones getting arrested for raping their neighbor, for murdering their neighbor, for stealing from their neighbor. And they don't always get protected. former attorney generals, Shurtleff and the other guy that was placed in after him. Yeah, they got away with it. But the guy in Idaho, the bishop down south, Brian David Mitchell. Oh, no, Travis, he left the church. He was excommunicated. His dad showed him naked women, and that's what flipped him. No, it was Brigham Young's teachings that have been carried on generation after generation. So, yeah, don't blame the idols. The idols are innocent. They have no power. Alrighty. Now, I'll go check again, but it looks like I'll be doing another video here because it's already at 41 minutes.